Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mr. Vivian Lobo, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Engineering, St. John College of Engineering and Management. Welcome you all for the fifth day of the webinar series. I also welcome the resource person for today's session, Mr. Aniket Mhala, Global Technology Practice Head at Oracle, who will be giving us insights about next generation computing. Before we begin the session, I would like to briefly introduce Mr. Aniket Mhala. Sir currently holds the position of a Senior Solution and Technology Director at Oracle. He has a creative and strategic thinking IT executive experience of over 25 years using traditional to next generation technologies. He has vast experience in commercial software development, specializing in web and cloud-based solutions that integrate with other platforms. He has successfully performed 100 plus agile, DevOps, and application modernization and transformation initiatives. He has strong hands-on experience in wide array of technologies such as Java, J2EE, .NET, RDBMS, Spring Framework, containers, modern data platforms, DevOps pipelines, microservices, and different types of clouds such as Oracle, Azure, and AWS. He is a global speaker and regularly contributes in international conferences. He has written books and published several papers. He is working as an industry expert for several colleges and part of their advisory board committee. Currently, Sir is working as Global Technology Practice Head at Oracle and providing technology solutions using next-gen technologies for multiple clients across the US, UK, Australia, Singapore, Europe, and India. We are indeed fortunate enough to have Aniket Sir amongst us. I once again welcome you, sir, and request you to start the session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, can you hear me, Vivian?
Yes, sir, audible.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So good afternoon, everyone. And I'm really happy and excited to have a conversation with such a wonderful audience. What is that I'm going to talk about is a next generation architecture, compute, and the technology. The most important part I will try in one and a half hour is to give you the insight what's been happening in IT industry. So people like us, Oracle, and in Accenture, Capgemini, couple of other vendors, what exactly we do in today's technology ocean, and what should be the takeaway for you from your career perspective. And that is what I will try my best to pass certain pointers for you to take away. Okay, having said this, let me just start my conversation with you. So this is what the agenda I thought we can have and connect and discuss. So what is next generation architecture? What is its computing, modern technologies? What does it exactly it means? What are the current trends are there? Why the heck we should go for the next generation technology? And then in this session. Okay, so let's jump on the next generation architecture. But before that, let's try to visualize what is the old generation and the next generation. Okay, so if you see here the couple of pictures I put so that you can visualize what is the old generation and the next generation, and it's a self-explanatory, guys. Okay, so from newspaper, black and white newspaper, to the smart mobile phone, in terms of bike also, if you see very old generation to the folks like you might be going with your life partner or a girlfriend using this advanced bike. And then they look at the size of the television. In 2001, it's old generation, and the latest generation is a slim and fit kind of a television. But the difference, have you seen the person? Okay. The old generation and the new generation, that's jokes apart. What is the generation gap? Father used to walk 20 minutes to save 20 rupees in the old days, and now son spent 20 rupees to save 20 minutes. Both are important. That time the context was different, this time the context is very different. So he is saving the 20 minutes, and in that 20 minutes he can do whatever he wants to do. A, he can learn new things. B, he can play the game. C, he can start earning the money. Okay, so this is what typically the gap between the old and next generation. And similarly, if you see from a gaming perspective as well, what kind of the games we used to play and now this generation is playing. And fundamentally, the next picture gives you the idea is, a old generation, we used to say लिख के ले ले, in typical Hindi. And now the next generation, hey buddy, just take a screenshot and just forward it to me. Okay, so this is what, the kind of old generation to next generation. But what is important for us to think, why innovations being happening, whether it's a phone, whether it's a manufacturing industry or a bike or automobile or a computer or all those things. Why? Because we need to understand why this old to new generation transformation happening, because everyone wants faster, better, reliable services and solution. Whether it's our personal life or a professional life, we want faster, better and reliable services and solutions. Now days has gone where we used to build a software, okay, and we're deploying that software to the customer side after 6 months, 12 months, or some softwares we build which was taking 2 years, when we call it as a big bang approach, and we roll out that software. Nowadays everyone wants everything faster, better, reliable. Okay, and so how do we achieve it in a software world? How this kind of a generation transformation happening in a software world? And that was the main theme or a motto to discuss couple of points today. And couple of slides are very, very, very important. I would suggest you need to listen carefully. Feel free to ask the questions, and I can take the question as and when it's possible. So the most important part is, what is an organization and what it want. I'm just going gradually towards the next generation technology, compute and all those things. So we have seen, logically what is the old generations with general examples and the next generation. But what is an organization, what it want? So organization is a company in a different sectors. Nowadays, a college is an organization, is a company. Medical industry, manufacturing industry, retail industry, even if government, banking, insurance, all are called as the different sectors. And every company is a technology company. The days has gone that only the software is being required for IT information companies. No, if you go into the hospital, which is advanced hospital or a healthcare industry, everything is software enabled. If you go to the colleges, most of the colleges are advanced and well equipped with the technology. If you go into the manufacturing industry, if you see the automobile, mobile industry, car manufacturing, everything is automated. Embedded softwares are there, robots are there. Okay, so without a technology, it is not possible nowadays. Why? Because it gives us faster, better and reliable solutions. Remember, that is what I mentioned on last slide. So organization is company. Every company is a technology company, and then every company wants, or they have a demand, they want to go for a modern digital platform. Why they want to go digital platform? Okay, so if you see on the left hand side, almost all the companies, okay, banks, or if you say the manufacturing industries, chemical industries, they do have a softwares which are heavy softwares, legacy softwares, mainframe softwares built using the old technology. Fox Pro build COBOL, Clipper, Power Builder, then from RDBMS perspective, MS SQL, okay, Access database. So all are the legacy. As we are progressing, everyone in our personal and professional life, we want the modern, just like a smartphone. Why not the software itself or the smart? Okay. So in industry, the application transformation is being happening. But first we need to understand what is this modern digital transformation and why companies are going for it. Now the companies are going for the modern digital platform because they want to satisfy more and more their customer. If you see that the Amazon website or Amazon portal or a Flipkart portal or any banking site, you will get a frequent changes onto their web portal. Why? Because they are capturing the feedback from their end user, the people like us who are the customers, and they are making the necessary changes. They are providing a lot of features which will make our life easy. So more end user satisfaction. You know why? Because more end user satisfaction means more business, and any company wants a more business. Faster time to market. Okay, no one wants to build a software for 12 months, rather deliver it in 6 months. Every application should be quality application and stable application. Flipkart or Amazon, all these applications or the web applications required stability. Banking platforms, banking softwares required stability. If a banking software is down for at least 3 minutes, they may lose millions of dollars of their transaction and the business. So we need to ensure the application should be stable. It should be fault tolerance and zero downtime. What do you mean by zero downtime? Zero downtime means in any case, my banking applications or my manufacturing industry software should not be down for any 0 minutes. 24/7, 365 days, all my applications should be up and running. Earlier, we were not thinking in that way. We used to have a mindset, okay, the site is down, okay, they are going to make it up after 3 hours, and we used to wait for the 3 hours, and then once the portal is up, we used to go and start using it, right? So we want features, we cannot wait. Therefore the applications or the software should be modern and such enough that they should be fault tolerant, as well as it should have a zero downtime. Nowadays, if you are aware, in the next generation, there is a concept called as a self-healing. Self-healing means if a particular application is down, there should be a mechanism that application should get started automatically without manual intervention. And that is one of the feature of the next generation technology. And there are a lot of open source frameworks and the commercial products available, due to which using which we can go and make our application self-healing. Okay, everyone wants lower cost and data as a revenue generation system. So I'm going to talk about the next generation data shortly. So these are the couple of benefits. Okay, so what is the today's need? Why the companies are going for the next generation technology? Because they want to go for this technology transformation for the business benefits. It's not for the sake, okay, that X company is using cloud, therefore we need to go for a cloud. X company is using blockchain, therefore we need to go for a blockchain. No, it's not that. Every company, every organization has a vision. How do I increase my revenue? How do I satisfy more customer? So as I mentioned, technology is the most important aspect. It is the foundation of every business. It is the foundation of every organization. Therefore, the technology, right type of technology, next generation technology needs to be used for the right purpose. If you see this ladder, guys, as we are progressing in the IT world, we used to call applications, and again we used to call the applications are monolithic, legacy application, mainframe AS400 application. Then a lot of things comes into picture, and then applications gets converted into product, and a lot of companies are building the products. For example, my company, the financial division, we build a lot of products. Oracle financial products such as FlexQ, so many different product lines, OBDX, all we have. So product basically help a particular type of customer, whether a banking product, insurance product. But nowadays, if you have seen and observed, The mindset has been changed, and we are moving from application to product and product to platform. No one is going and saying that, hey, I want to use you use our product. People are coming and saying that, hey, use our platform. So what is this platform? In today's modern world, the company are giving a platform as a solution, not a product as a solution. So the platform is a one-stop solution. For example, if I want to get all my details about all my banks, if I have accounts in 15 banks, and if I have 25 mutual funds which cut across the globe, not only from the Indian company, and I do have some health insurance, I do have some kind of other types of insurance for my parents. Now every time I have to use the different user ID and password and go and log into the different portals. Okay, but what if I generate a platform which is a single stop solution, one stop solution for me? Just log into that platform, which could be which is giving me a complete solution about my all okay, is it good, my voice now? Someone has asked my voice is breaking. Is it okay now? Can someone confirm, please? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Are you still not able to hear me? Let me change. Okay, audible. Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys. No problem to voice. Audible, sir. All right. Thank you, guys. So therefore, next gen ecosystem is what is the preference. Okay, so we are going to touch base about what is this next generation ecosystem. So understand what is the message I'm going to pass you from this slide for all of you. Every company is technology. Even if your college is a technology company, even if your father business is a technology company, everything is technology. Whatever the software you are using, you need to go for the modernization, and there are systematic approach, and now it is the world of the platform, and platform will help us to give a one-stop solution. All right, so this is very important slide, and I need your close attention, and just give me the feedback if I'm not audible in chat. Then I will able to understand it. Now this slide is very important based upon my experience. How do you read this slide? This is the journey from traditional to modernization. So there are the four main pillars in software IT industry, guys. One is the development processes, second one is the application architecture, third one is the deployment and packaging of the applications, and finally application infrastructure. I need your close attention. So these four things all IT companies are using to build small to large enterprise complex software. So when we started the journey, maybe 30 or 40 years before, the software development process or the method was a waterfall. Okay, SDLC, you might have studied in software engineering, Pressman book or some other books. Okay, so it was there, but a lot of problems solution. So therefore a latest innovation happened, and the new methodology come called as the agile. And agile brought a couple of people together, developers, QA, that is testers, and business people. They start working iteratively and incrementally, and then in this innovation happened called as the DevOps. So DevOps brought all the development, business, QA people and operational people work together, and DevOps mainly focus on the automation. So DevOps brought automation everywhere. Earlier, whenever we used to see automation, so people used to just think automation means, oh, it's a test automation, testing automation. This has gone. We can automate the infrastructure, we can automate the your robotic process automation, you can automate your workflow, you can automate your complete pipeline, source code compilation till deployment onto the production. So that is being possible with the help of this guy called as a DevOps. Okay, so in application architecture, if you see, guys, there is also transformation happen. Okay, from old generation to next generation. So we used to have a AS400 heavy monolithic big fatty applications. Then we come up into the client server architecture you might have studied, and then typical entire architecture, that is presentation layer, business layer, data access layer, and then this it works since for a long time. And nowadays the next generation architecture style is a microservices, and it is very interesting, very powerful concept, I would say, that called as the microservices. So DevOps focuses on the automation, microservices focuses on the architecture. How do you architecture your software when you are building the software? Whenever you are building the software, we have to go for the software. And I believe most of all of you are aware and studied like a software architecture. So software architecture is a set components. Here we will have some thoughts on this microservices. In the deployment and packaging, huge big physical servers. Then we come up with a VMware. They brought the virtual servers, virtual machines, and nowadays very interesting container technology called as the Docker, and it makes our life extremely easy. That is called as the Docker. So containerization, it's a Linux container or a Docker container. It's a lightweight. It's very simple to create a Docker container for your microservice based applications. Okay, so containerization is what is being happening, and it will be there for next 10 to 15 years. Application infrastructure, heavy data centers, they were costing too much. I mean, physical infrastructure every organization used to have. Then we used to have the hosted, just like you host the web machine, your website to someone, and nowadays it's a cloud, and cloud changed the world. So if you see here, guys, there is a transformation from year and months to months and weeks and months and weeks to weeks and daily. No one is going to stop and wait to get their software by end of year or by end of 8 months. They want it in a 1 month or a 2 month, some features, or even if on a daily basis. So there is a concept called as a one-page application. You can quickly create that application and just upload it, and that functionality will be available. On top of this, these are the 4 important pillars in this rectangle, supported by big data, data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, analytics, blockchain. RPA stands for robotic process automation, and many more. Okay, but this is what you should look upon if you want to build your career, if you want to take your knowledge to the next level. Okay, so this is what in industry it's going to stay for some time. Now this tick mark for DevOps and cloud indicates that most of the companies are matured, and they have adopted cloud as well as DevOps. So they moved from waterfall to agile, and they brought the automation, developers and the operation engineers working together. Oh, they have also shifted a lot of softwares onto the cloud to save their cost. It could be Oracle Cloud, Azure Cloud, or it could be AWS Cloud, Google Cloud. So industry is getting matured over here and here. But these two guys are new in terms of maturity. I mean, companies like Netflix or Facebook or Google, those are the early adopters of any technology, even if in that case LinkedIn as well. So they already adopted these guides, and then rest of the other world or the other companies following that. Okay, so far so good. Is it making sense? The speed is okay? Can someone just give me the quick feedback in chat? All right, thank you guys, thank you so much, I appreciate. All right, let's move on. So if you want to build your career, if you have a passion, if you want to take your knowledge to next level, days has gone. You have to focus in the right way, and that's what this is the bucket which I call is the next generation architecture and computing. And I will guide you, and it's not the case that we are going to connect through on for this session. We may connect later also if you need any help. So quick survey, if you see 65% of organization have challenges maintaining their legacy application like mainframe applications. For example, they have the applications built in IBM technology, AS400 or a Power Builder or a Fox Pro technology, which is old. They are not getting the skill and they want to modify. It's very difficult. Therefore, they are either retiring that software or creating a new. 39% of organization are modernizing legacy apps. So guys, this number you will have to interpret in a positive sense. It means that you have plenty of opportunity, those who are looking for the excellent jobs. Okay, the organizations are going for the modernization. So modernization means with modern technology and compute. So whatever I'm going to talk, you have a huge potential. 44% of organizations are adopting microservices. Still there is a 60%, almost 60% organizations are going for it. So microservices. Okay, 71% using or planning to use Docker to containerize legacy application. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is Docker, microservices, or Kubernetes, cloud. This is what is the need of today, and you will have to focus on those things. I will show you. I have one wonderful slide which will give the idea about what do you mean by technology stack and all stuff. So let me just, or I will go on to that slide as it comes. All right, so we have seen the 4 pillar: DevOps, microservices, container, and the cloud. Then when we say that, okay, next generation application we need to build, what do you mean by next generation applications? So next generation applications are called as a cloud native application. All right, what do you mean by cloud native applications? So application which is built for cloud using the cloud services. Okay, and then it is called as the cloud native application. Sometimes we go and say that, hey, what is your native place? Because that native place means we had our birth over there, and that's what we are calling it as a native. In the same way, when we build a particular application which is mainly cloud enabled, will run on the cloud, therefore it is called as the cloud native application. Now, how do we build a cloud native application? Remember that pillars I have shown you. You need to build and compose the application as a microservices. You can expose this microservices as a okay, there is a question. Generally, how long does it take to move or transit from old legacy ERP system to new system? It's a wonderful question. It depends upon the 3 things. What is the size of your ERP application? What is the complexity of that application? And what kind of the volume of the data you do have? Now, if your ERP system is a kind of a huge system, it is having a billions, trillions of record, and it is being pure legacy, then it will take a longer duration. But if you have a system, ERP system, which is small in size, less complex, okay, and multiple departments as a multiple ERPs, if that is the scenario, it will take a lesser time. So it depends upon the size, the complexity, and the volume of the data that ERP system is having. Based upon that, it will take a time. But how do we understand how much time it is going to take? 9 months, 12 months, 3 months. So we generally go for those transformation and start with a one phase called as the discovery phase. In a discovery phase, we understand what is the ERP system as a current state, what are the typical problems we create for this ERP system when we modernize it. Will it be AWS based? Will it be Azure based? Will it be Oracle cloud based? Or will it be a mixed state as well? Okay, and then once we have a current state, target state, what are the gaps between the current ERP and the targeted cloud based system, and then we create a roadmap that is called as execution plan. And according to that execution plan, we move from current state to new state. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there any security threats to companies adopting next generation services? Wonderful question once again. Security threats is always there, whether you go with the old traditional technology but next generation technologies. But now what happened is that whether it's Oracle, Azure, AWS, and Kubernetes, they have heavily invested into the security, and they do have security compliance and the kind of services they provide. So there are a heavy provision given on the security so that vulnerability attack or any hacker attacks, okay, should not happen over there. Then whether it is a, for example, if you want to go and implement that security programmatically, so you can go with JWT token authentication, you can go with the OAuth open source framework, or you can go with a Spring security framework. On top of that, all cloud provider do they have their own security frameworks, the policies, the digital certification management. So to answer your question, security is very, very important, and every next generation app will be secured enabled. Okay, so all right, so what I will do, I will try to answer whatever the questions I can, because there are a lot of things we need to cover. So there is a question about client server architecture. Can you explain it, sir? So client server architecture, you can just imagine there is a one machine as a client and another machine as a server. So one desktop is your server, another desktop is your client. Now client does not have any processing capacity. Client only talk to server, and server has a processing capability. For example, you have a examination processing software or exam result processing software from a college perspective. So if it has been implemented in a client server, so entire software business logic or the processing logic will be on the server desktop, which is running, that software is running on any application server like IIS, Internet Information Server, or a WebLogic or a WebSphere. And another machine is a simple client, and that client could be you can implement as a web-based client using AngularJS or a React.js, or it could be JSP client or ASP client. You are getting a screen and you are using it. So that's what just one centralized architecture where entire business logic is there. But in a decentralized, in a microservice world, it's a very interesting, it's a decentralized architecture. Okay. All right. So how are Azure, AWS, and Oracle different from each other? Okay, so basically all are the cloud service providers. So the way you guys are aware, for example, Java has a specification. A Java specification means there is a standard things built, and if there is a open JDK, Oracle JDK, or tomorrow I want to create my own JDK, I can create my own JDK, but it should be compliance with the Java specification. Similarly, there is a cloud computing organization authority, and they have a cloud specification given. Okay, and AWS, Oracle, Azure are basically having what is that in a common. So they have in a common 4 categories. So it is called as a compute, data, storage, networking. Okay, so compute, data, storage, networking. So compute related services, for example, EC2 instance on AWS or virtual Azure virtual machines. Okay, so compute services, data services, then storage services like S3 bucket or your blob storage, and then networking services. Under these 4 buckets, every AWS, Oracle, and Azure given their services. And I would suggest do not go for 3 clouds together. Okay, you won't achieve something from your career perspective, or you want to go to and learn the next generation. Either choose AWS, Oracle, or Azure. Though I'm from Oracle, AWS is pretty old, Azure is new, and Oracle is new, but these 3 are the top player. Google Cloud is also there. So in AWS there are 165 plus services, in Azure 200 and plus, and the similar number is in Oracle Cloud Services. So how do I go and write the Java application? How do I go and do the .NET application? And how do I go and write a PHP application? How do I create the database onto the Oracle Cloud, AWS Cloud? So I will go and use RDS, Relational Database Services. So there are different services are there. and you will have to learn those services. It is pretty easy, and once you learned it, you can build a software which is a cloud native software. Okay guys, all right, so I will move ahead. There are a lot of questions are coming. I will just park some questions for later. It is possible to integrate disparate, dissimilar legacy system to new. Yes, integration is the need, and we can integrate the system using the integration pattern. So there is a wonderful book, EAI, Enterprise Integration Pattern. You can Google it out and you will get that book. But to just tell you, earlier we used to have enterprise service bus, Oracle ESB, or a TIPCO enterprise service bus, or ESB Mule. So this is the one bus to which all applications are connecting. Now in today's world, this is a big monolithic enterprise service bus is getting replaced, and microservices connecting with each other. One microservice is a one small application, another microservice, for example, is a small application. So this is nothing but a small applications. You can see on the diagram, I'm moving a pointer. They are connecting with each other, and they are connecting through REST API. So all are the RESTful services. If you are aware about the REST, REST, which is the HTTP based protocol. So nowadays it's very simple to have a REST based integration. However, with a legacy system and all those things, we need to go with the systematic integration pattern, which we can implement using Spring integration, or we can implement using Apache Camel or any other commercial integration tool. All right guys, so we talk a lot about what is a cloud native application, how do we build it. Okay, so I will not go into the DevOps. As I mentioned, I just put a slide to get an idea, because my job in this workshop is to give the idea about the component. Okay, so but to just get a feel, what is the DevOps? When it says automation of a delivery pipeline, what do you mean by automation of delivery pipeline? And so this is what happened generally. So you are a developer. So developers, for example, on a particular project they are running, so they are writing the source code. It could be in a Python, Scala, Java, .NET, PHP, Ruby, whatever that they are writing, and they are storing that their source code into the source code repository like TFS, Git, and from there they checked in the code. Then this guy Jenkins, which is a CI tool which comes into picture, pick up the code automatically, run the automatic unit test cases automatically, I'm saying, which are coded in JUnit if it is Java, or in a Jasmine if it is Angular, and then other test cases happen, then automatically deployed to the different environment or the machines, like test machine, system testing machine, SIT machine, system integration machine, or the environment, or the UAT, user acceptance machine. Then automatic integration testing happens using Protector. Then you can package the image, blah blah blah, and finally it goes and deployed to the production. Now days has gone. Earlier everything was happening manually, and people used to connect with each other. But now if you set up this as a pipeline, called as the orchestration of the automated pipeline by the DevOps engineers using the right tools, it happens, and you can deploy it onto the production. And once you deploy your source code onto production, then you can have a continuous monitoring of your source code or the application, and provide the feedback. So this is high level about the DevOps pipeline. Okay, because each and every topic itself is a separate topic for this session, but I thought I will just give you what all this comes into the next generation. Nowadays you might be aware that it's a data. People are generally performing a lot of operations on data, like machine learning, generating the different models, generating the different intelligence using AI. So for that also there is a concept called as a data ops. So DevOps is the old traditional automation, but now we are doing multiple things with respect to data. So it is called as the data ops. So keep these terms in mind, guys. Okay, data ops, DevOps, containers, Docker, Kubernetes, cloud. So all these things comes under the next generations. And if you see here, the kind of the tools, open source frameworks, Docker, Cucumber, Protector, Nexus, this is what is being happening and getting used in the industry. Okay, and my job is to give you the idea about what's being happen in the industry. And in college we generally go and do some kind of a programming. Okay, but you should know how do we incline towards what is being happening in the industry and called as a next generation. So here also, if you see, Airflow is a workflow management system, a unified workflow management system. Okay, Git repository, Kubernetes container management platform, Spark is it's a processing engine. So you have to decide a track. Okay, I want to go into the data track. No, I want to go into the compute track. I want to go into the storage track, or I want to go into the networking track. And based upon that track, you will have to choose the right open source frameworks and some commercial product, study it, and grab the very well salary job. Okay, so when we build a cloud native application, there are certain principles we need to follow. When we design something, we'll have to follow the principles. Principles are nothing but certain rules. And if you play the T20 match, there are certain rules. If you play the a test cricket match for 5 days, there are certain rules. Similarly, when you build a cloud native application, there are certain rules which ensures that the software which we are building, cloud native software, what it should have. It should have container, microservices, APIs. We can expose our functionality to the wider world. Okay, it should be fault tolerant and self-healing. It should dynamically scale. So this cloud native application or next generation application has sometimes zero manual intervention, as I mentioned. If lot of traffic is there, for example, on the site Amazon or a Flipkart or any other banking software, the software should be automatically smart enough to scale itself. So if it is running 10 instance, it should automatically run to 25 instance or 100 instance. Not only that, it should automatically reduce the instances when the traffic is reduced. That is what is the intelligence of a next generation software, and it is possible, and people are going for it. And self-healing, I already talked. If there are 10 instances of your application is running, one instance is down, it will 9 are running, so you no downtime, no disturbance to your users, because 9 instances are running. Immediately the 10th one, which is crashed, is getting restarted, and in fraction of seconds or a fraction of minute, again the 10 instances are all available. Okay, so by that way it will allows fault tolerance and self-healing. Okay, so automation we talk. So these are the principles, you need to study in a detail when you want to go for a cloud native application, which is nothing but a next generation. Okay. Okay, so I will just take one call. One question, sir, if someone wants to get their career in cloud computing, then which will be the great to get their career? Means making career in AWS or Azure or cloud computing, and which will be good? All right, so I would suggest, I'm from Oracle, so I will prefer Oracle, but it's not the case. I would suggest that you have to study what's the market is, what's the demand of market. So understand, guys, you need to understand very carefully. AWS is getting matured. So if AWS has already got so much business in the market, Azure is pretty good, as well as Oracle is new. But I would suggest you choose this wise, sequence wise: AWS, Azure, and then Oracle. That's what I can say, that because AWS is matured enough, Azure is also little matured as compared to Oracle, and then you can go for the Oracle. Okay, but once you become a matured in AWS, you understood concept, solutioning, and all those things. No one is stopping you to go for the Azure and down the line Oracle, or Oracle and then down the line Azure. But whatever the track you are choosing, go for it. There are certifications available in this track. I would suggest become a certified. Your salary will be increased by 20 to 30%. Believe me, but you should know what to do and how to do. All right, guys. So let me move to the next these things. All right, so we'll spend some time on this important diagram. So I mentioned that when we started in 1960s or 50s and then 70s, monolithic application. Even if today also we have a monolithic application, then few of you might be aware about SOA, that is service oriented architecture. a very nice concept came into the architectural style, that instead of having this big fatty application, for example, if this is a big fatty application for a bank, they componentize this application into the four important components like core banking, cash, credit card, and some other internal intranet software. So they just split this monolithic logically into this four important group. But the problem with SOA is that this monolithic, what do you mean by monolithic, guys? Monolithic means it's an application. All right, so what? It's the size of source code. The line of source code of monolithic could be 40 millions of line. That is what we have seen. We are seeing in the industry. I'm not talking about the factorial.java or whatever you guys just write in C and C++ of 10 or 20 or 100. But in reality, it's a millions of line of code. It is extremely difficult to understand the entire code. And if we are making changes into the one source code, there are chances that it will break up somewhere. Why? Because it is bundled as a one big fatty monolithic. Therefore, here logically divided, but unfortunately SOA logically divided, but it is bundled and deployed onto the production as a single unit. I don't know, but if you are aware about the files called as a war file, jar file, DLL, exe, okay, so this is the single big EAR file, enterprise architecture. Here it could be 4, but what microservice says that, look, keep it simple and small. So divide this big fatty application into small individual application. Now the beauty is that these are the all applications, individual applications talking to each other. But here the entire application could have been developed in Java. Here also it could have been developed in Java and JSP. But the beauty of microservice is polyglot architecture. It means that, hey, this is my independent application. I build in the node.js because it is related to mobile app. All right, this is I'm building into Spring Boot. Okay, this is I'm building using a Java EE8 and micro profile. This I'm building using a Python because I'm going to use a lot of Python libraries for my AI and all those things. So the same application is now possible to build in a multiple languages, multiple programming languages. And this is the same application is now called as a set of different independent applications. Are you getting, guys? So that's the beauty and the plus point of the microservices. This is centralized, this is distributed. I can have these 4 microservices deployed into AWS if required. The 4 microservices deployed onto my company's this things called as the on-premise. This 4 can be deployed onto the Google, and the 4 can be deployed onto the Azure. Look at, so this is a distributed architecture. Okay, so distributed architecture. So if one microservice is failed, so for example, what do you mean by this is a login, this is forgot password, this is change password functionality, this is advanced search, okay, this is show the student details, this shows the employee details. So how do we identify the microservices? It is just like a SRS principle, single responsibility principle. The same thing is being done here, but everything is clubbed together. No, so I will build my application in a such a way, one component will do the one thing and it will do holistically. Now if this application is crashed, rest of all other applications are up and running, and automatically using a self-filling, this application will be up and running. It means that microservices helping a lot, because I can deploy these individual applications which are connected with each other using the Docker container or a Docker networks. It's very easy, guys, believe me. But you first understand the concept, and if possible, I can conduct the separate session in depth in microservices. Okay, but as of now, at high level, it's a individual unit. Okay, developed in individual languages if there is a need. Here it was not possible. Here you will have to develop either everything into Java EE or all those things, but here whatever the programming languages I want to use, I can use it. So this is what the benefit. Hope you could provide sir is explaining very well. Hope you could provide this video. So I didn't get, do you mean to say that the video recording and the content? Yes, content I will definitely share, guys. That's not a problem. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, let's move. So this is what you can see the difference because visualization help us. So this is the one application where all these components bundled together and implemented in Java. Okay, but in microservice world, it's a componentized. So this is one component, second component, third component, fourth component. This is I implemented in Java. This is I implemented in Scala. This is I implemented in again Java, and this list of product I implemented in a .NET based upon the my need. So it means that microservices allows us to have a polyglot architecture. Okay, this is what we talked about, language independent and these things. Let me see any. Okay, how microservices are used. I didn't get this question, but are you trying to say that how the microservices are getting used into the these things industry? So microservices is nothing but your application. Remember, so this is your one application. If you see that this is the one application and which has the four important functionalities. Now this is also microservices, means again the set of applications, one application, second application, third and fourth. Those are the decentralized communicating with each other, and we can deploy these microservices on Kubernetes in on-premises, or we can deploy these microservices on Kubernetes services or cloud. Okay, now we need to understand, Aniket, what if this we are splitting up the application as a set of microservices. Now earlier it was a big fatty, but now there are four. But in reality, there could be 1,000 microservices, or it may be 5,000 microservices, right? Customer, order, product, accounting, inventory, blah blah blah. So there could be a small applications, a big number. Okay, and that is what going to happen in reality, and that's what we are doing. So for example, services, which one is developed in PHP, blah blah. So imagine these are the set of microservices, and as we are progressing in a particular banking company or any company, and what happens, this software we are decomposing, existing softwares, their existing software we are decomposing into their next generation style in a microservices. So this is going to increase like this. Oh, these are now 10, 20, 30. So now 30 microservices. It means that earlier we have to just monitor one application. Now we have to monitor the 30 application. We have to deploy this 30 application, though they are small in the nature. But in reality, it is not that simple. It is like this. Okay, and that is what we are saying. If it's a big company, a lot of microservices, 1,000 plus, 5,000 plus microservices under the different line of business, and how do we manage this big microservices? How we ensure that how many microservices are up and running? That is small application. How the communication between them is happening? How to build, package, manage such a large number of microservices? These are the three questions. Build means, guys, how do we develop it? How do I write the source code? Package means how do I bundle it as a jar file, or in an advanced area as a Docker image? And how do I manage means once I am deployed it onto the production platform, how do we ensure that the microservices up and running? Okay, so this is the most important question, and probably if you are building your career, you will be either doing building of the microservices and the packaging and the managing, or all three together, either using certain technology and the cloud. Okay, so remember, you need to know how to build, how to package, and how to manage. Three keywords, guys. Okay, so the answer is these things. 1 minute, if I have that slide, I can show you. Yeah, so this is what going to happen, that microservices, independent component, Docker, you will have to bundle it, the microservices as an image, and Kubernetes, which is an open source orchestration platform for automating deployment, scaling, management, and containerized application. Now, how do I start? It's look big for me. I'm a newcomer. I don't know. So keep it simple and small. Take baby steps. Don't jump onto the cloud and all those things directly. First, you understand, hey, what is this guy about? Microservices. Let me write the small microservice. I don't need a Docker. I don't need a Kubernetes. Even I don't need the cloud, I will simply write a simple microservice. Just most of you might be aware about hello world. So I will write a hello world microservice either in Java or hello world microservice in Spring Boot, or I will write a hello world microservice in PHP. But I will strongly recommend, guys, in the microservice next gen world, Spring, if you are aware, which is open source, Spring Boot, and the Spring family like Spring Cloud, Spring Security, Spring Batch. The Spring family you should be familiar. Only having a knowledge of Java is not sufficient. So whether you want to go in the microservice world, I strongly recommend Spring, Spring Boot, Spring Batch, Spring Config, Spring Cloud. You should learn it. If you are not knowing, then you can easily able to build the microservices and bundle those microservice into the Docker images and run it onto the Kubernetes. Now, but if you want to go onto the cloud and you want to run your microservices into Kubernetes but on a cloud, then you will have to go for the Kubernetes services of cloud. That is AWS Fargate, Amazon ECS, Amazon EKS, or the Kubernetes Oracle. Okay, so try to understand. In next generation, you have to build a application as a microservice. You have to package the application using Docker. You have to deploy the application on a Kubernetes, and you can host that application either on a cloud. Remember, guys, so these are the 4 things you will have to do. So microservice building, programming languages, as I mentioned few. One is Java, Scala, Spring and Spring Boot, okay, Python, Ruby, anywhere. But if you ask me, if you have a Java background, Java is your area of interest, you can go for Java, Spring Boot. If you have area interest is .NET, C#, please go for it. We can write a plenty of microservices in C#, because the microservice written in C# can easily communicate with the microservice written in Java. That is possible through REST API and all stuff. Okay. All right, so this is what I'm not going to explain you, but how your application looks like. You will be having mobile clients, web browser client, IoT nowadays, Internet of Things. There is an API, application programming interface, API or API gateway. It is a single entry point for these guys, and then it will validate, verify. So API gateway, you just think about the Mumbai gateway of India. So at those days, that was a single entry point. No one was allowed to come in India, and only the official and authentic way to come inside the India is the API gateway. That's a single entry point. Similarly, these all are the consumers. These all are your clients, okay, who are going to use your functionality. For example, login microservice, change password, change password, forgot password, or it could be some other order customer microservice. So everyone has to go through API, that is called as application programming interface. Okay, so if we see that it's a loosely coupled architecture. Okay, so this one microservice is not tightly coupled with this. So if traffic is there, so I will just create a 2 instance of this microservice instead of all microservices. So it is what, because of which microservice is gaining a lot of attraction. I would strongly urge, you should go for the microservices. I'm happy if there is a need to have similar workshop sessions, we can see, but microservice is the backbone now for a next generation. All right, now I just thought of giving some idea about certain architecture just to you get a feel. When we go on to the actual execution, okay, in industry, we cannot go with factorial and all those things. So we create such kind of the architecture, guys. What types of the roles we require, what kind of the consumers, what is the API gateway, that API gateway will do what, then the business functionality. This green means business functionality. It is implemented in green boxes. This is the outer architecture. So when we work for a next generation, we build this kind of the reference architecture. So the new term I'm telling you, reference architecture. Now what happens in industry, we don't go and build a software once we got the requirement. First we understand it, we understand from all the aspect what is that customer wants, what's the technology aspect, and then we create a reference application. It means that we create this ready to use architecture, and then we implement 1 or 2 functionality using this architecture, and everything works fine. Then this reference architecture becomes a final architecture, and rest of all the microservices or all the components we implement using this architecture. Okay, guys. So far, so good. Oh, it's an excellent question. What are the limitation of microservices? Microservices, what is the limitation? So there is no as such limitation of a microservice per se, because microservice is the architecture style. Only the limitation of the language, programming language, which you are using to implement or build that microservice. For example, if I'm building the microservice using node.js, and the limitation of, for example, that language is that it is not providing any facility to go and do some kind of the ML and analytics stuff. So that could be the limitation of that language rather than the microservice language. So if you ask me, there is no as such limitation of microservices, because microservice is a concept. Microservice is the architecture style, which is an independent unit which you will have to build using different types of the languages. So the limitation would be on the implementation language. I hope I answered your question. So this is the some kind of a technology stack which this kind of the architecture will get implemented. So just to get you, Netflix, most of you are aware, but Netflix is a very powerful company in terms of the next gen technology. They generally go and evaluate a lot of softwares they build. Even if the microservice framework called as the Netflix, excuse me, the Netflix OSS, they open source it. So it consists of a lot of service discovery like Eureka or Spring Cloud and all those things, Turbine, Hystrix, Netflix Eureka, Netflix Zool, all these open source frameworks which we can use to build the microservices. Okay, so I will not go into detail, but I just thought of to give you the idea about when you build a microservices, it's not just one technology. Nowadays you can build something, it's a functional business logic you can implement in Spring Boot. Then if you see here, all our outer components like this API gateway, service discovery, load balancing, service router, identity provider, all those are the outer architectures. Then monitoring and the logging, that is called as telemetry, then persistence, the database, or event broker, whether you are going for a Kafka or a RabbitMQ and all stuff. So all those are the supporting technology. So bunch of technology you are going to use when you are building the application using a microservices. Okay, so heavy, I would say that 80% you should know Spring Boot, 20% rest of the things. Believe me, if you are passionate, you want to do something more, you want to learn something more, everything becomes easy, whether it's a Java Spring stack or whether it's a C# .NET stack. Okay, so let me see quickly, is there any question before we move? Is it a microservice work as well? Is work as call middleware or any different? It's like a middleware only. You can, microservices is at a middleware. On top of that, there is a UI, and below the microservices is your data layer, which could be database, that is it's your SQL database like Oracle, or a NoSQL database like MongoDB. Okay, so it is a middleware. It is at a middleware layer, I would say that. All right, so these are the typical architecture. If you want to go and use the microservices on AWS, how do we do? And this is the actual architecture which we built for one of our customer. So if you see that microservices which are bundled into Docker, there is a single API gateway called as a Zool. Then there is a web application developed separately using a React. Certain applications are in Angular. Then we configure all the microservices, whether database connections or Kubernetes connection or any other connection separately into the config server. It is called as the externalization of a configuration. So this is the advanced architecture, I would say that, or a next generation architecture, guys. Okay, now couple of things. Remember I mentioned compute, data, integration, storage, networking. So if you want to go for compute, you should know what is AWS Fargate, AWS ECS, AWS Lambda. Just this is, I have given an example of AWS. If you want to know data, so Amazon S3, Amazon Aura, Amazon Dynabe, then how do we integrate with the other components. So these are the services. Remember I said 160 plus services. So this is service 1, service 2, service 3, service 4. In this way there are around 160 services. There is no need that you should know 160 services, but as I mentioned, if you are working into programming, then you will have to go heavily with compute and data. Okay, that way you will have to go and you will come and understand. So on a next generation technology or a next generation architecture and compute, what is important is that on premises, what do you mean by on premise? On premises means if it is a college, if it is a bank, so they have all virtual machines, everything, their data center in their premises, okay, physically, and all their softwares are hosted over there. But now where industry is going, industry is using a less on premises and heavily going on to the cloud. Okay, that way Lambda is the latest technology stuff, I would say that. So quickly, Lambda is a serverless. Now what do you mean by serverless? Suppose you have written a program, calculator.java. Now the calculator.java consists of 4 functions. Okay, add 2 numbers, subtract 2 numbers, multiply 2 numbers, and division of 2 numbers. Remember, so you might have written a calculator.java or a calculator.c. So that's your application. Now that application you have hosted onto AWS. Now once that application is hosted on AWS, means it is present on virtual machine of AWS, and virtual machine on AWS is called as EC2 instance, Elastic Compute 2 instance. So it is running over there. Now whenever someone wants to use so now the charge, whenever your entire program calculator.java is running, AWS is charging you for that, called as the compute charges. So maybe 0.5 paise per second, and they are charging you. So if your program is running continuously for 24 hours, so they will charge you, correct? So that is what charge happen. Now but when you go for a serverless, again the same scenario. Now if I had implemented my calculator.java as a serverless program, do not get confused. Serverless means there is no application server, web server, or something is not required. No, it's not like that. So a calculator.java consists of 4 functions: add, subtract, multiply, and let's say division. Now what if though my program is up and running 24 hours, when I go for a serverless, they will not charge me. But when my function gets executed throughout a day, just 2 minutes add function got executed, so they will charge me for 2 minutes. This got executed for just 1 minute, so 3 minutes. It got executed for 4 minutes, so so 3 plus 4, 7 minutes. So if I go for the serverless, they just charge me 7 minutes, though my program is up and running for 24 hours. But in earlier case, which I explained, if you hosted the Java program in EC3 instance, EC2 instance, it is up and running for 24 hours, it will charge for 24 hours. So the serverless is called as a function. It's a function as a service. Okay, so at the function will get executed and the people will charge for the function, and that is what pretty advanced, and it is AWS Lambda. And you can do the serverless programming. It's in Java 9, I believe 9 onwards it's supported, and you can easily go for the serverless stuff. So these are the typical things in the area of cloud, compute, database, storage, messaging, and analytics. I thought you should know that, and when you are going on to the next generation journey. I will take certain questions before we move to the very interesting and the last section of the today's conversation, that is data. Can you elaborate on EC2? Okay, EC2, so same there. EC2 you just consider as a one laptop, but that laptop is not at your home, but that laptop is present into the AWS data center, correct? And you are accessing that laptop from your home from another laptop. So EC2, Elastic Compute 2, is a virtual machine which is hosted into the AWS data center. What is AWS or Oracle data center? A big machine, a big building where all such physical machines are there, and under every physical machine so many virtual machines are running. So EC2 instance is nothing but a virtual machine. If you know the concept of virtual machine, it is very easy. What is virtual machine? My laptop is a physical machine, and I installed in a partition Windows, so it becomes my one virtual machine. I installed another virtual machine, and over there I installed Linux. Then it's my two virtual machines. Oracle Virtual Box is a very freeware. You can go search in Google Oracle Virtual Box. It allows you to create the multiple virtual machines of a Linux, Ubuntu type on your laptop or a desktop. We have any challenges in microservices? Suvarna, wonderful question. There are plenty of challenges. Now, why the challenges? First of all, lack of knowledge. Whether it's a microservice or any new technology, if we don't know, we are going to make mistakes. Therefore, learning, making a mistake is very well required. Second important thing is that taking a shortcuts. Do not take a shortcuts when we are building the software, because software means, remember, every company is a technology company. So software is a backbone for every company. So if we are taking any shortcuts to build a microservices, not following the 12-factor app as a guideline or the design principles which I have mentioned, then it becomes challenges. The challenges could be in a way, how do I decompose the entire big fatty application into the set of small microservices. Now over there is a design technique or a methodology available. I believe all of you are aware about OOAD. Let me type what I'm saying into these things. OOAD. Okay, so OOAD stands for Object Oriented Analysis and Design, correct guys? And UML, Unified Modeling Language, and in Unified Modeling Language tools we have used in our old days to go for Object Oriented Analysis and Design. What does mean? Design the entire system in the form of class, then objects, the relationship between the class. How do we identify the class? First go with the user requirement. How do we understand the user requirement? Identify the use cases. How do we know that what the use case does? Identify the actors and what the actor and use case does, right? So that is the OOAD. But in the world of microservices, there is a very interesting design technique. I'm just typing it into chat box so that you can understand what I'm saying. It is DDD, and it is called as domain driven design. Okay, sorry about typo of spelling. It's a domain driven design. So DDD is nothing invented for microservices perspective. DDD is a very old design technique which is being used since long, but domain driven design goes extremely well with microservice. And how do we handle? So it's a different philosophy, different way of thinking when you go for the software development. The way OOAD has some mindset, some set of rules, and understand the problem. And once we understand the problem, we build we come up with a component and build it. Similarly, domain driven design is the method, and domain driven design method is a domain oriented. So what does it mean? That, so just to give the quick example, okay, the entire college is your domain. Okay, I'm sorry, but let me take one generic name of the college instead of a specific, like ABC College. So ABC College is my big main domain. Now in that domain there will be subdomains. What is those subdomains? Some departments. So computer department, IT department, electronics department, civil department, blah blah blah, admin. So all are my subdomain. So every subdomain will have their own way of working, their own processes, their own subject syllabus, correct? And domain driven design help us to divide the system in the form of domain, then inside the form subdomain, and again inside the subdomain some logical component, and every logical component called as a bounded context or subdomain. And for every subdomain we can build a microservices. Now just to give me the one more example before we move quickly to data is French people, Germans, Indians, all we are living on earth. So earth is a core domain. Every country is a subdomain. Now every country has their own way of thinking, working, culture, and their language. So it is called as a ubiquitous language. So every country use the ubiquitous language. That is what in a DDD. Now for example, fool. The fool in English means idiot. But if I If I interpret fool in Hindi, it could be flower. Okay, so the meaning of one term could be different in IT department, and the meaning of the same term could be different in a civil department. All right, so therefore DDD allows us to split or build a system by identifying the domain, then the subdomains, then inside the subdomains identify the microservices and implement those microservices into by different programming language. All right, guys, let's move to the last segment from a modern next generation. So data, the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil but data. It means that UAE and all Arabian countries earn a lot of money by doing a lot of oil business, and oil means money, but now data, millions, petabyte, terabyte data is available, and company wants to generate a new revenue from this data, and therefore we need to have architecture, we need to have a mechanism. How do we address the old legacy data? How do we take a control of a data which is generating millions of record day-to-day basis? Imagine a company like Facebook, imagine a company like Twitter, LinkedIn, or Google, or Oracle in that way, or mainly social media companies, where they generate trillions of records on day-to-day basis, images, and again different types of data, whether it's a content, image, audio file, video file, and blah blah blah. Okay, so now in the next generation, the days has gone to go with only whenever we think of data, how do we store the data? Immediately database. What is the database? Oh, Oracle. We are pioneer in that, and I feel proud about it. Okay, but now in next generation, that based upon the type of data, it could be a just CSV file or Excel file. If it is a PDF file, it's a media file. If it's a graph, okay, or it could be the structured data. So basically there are three types of the data in next generation: structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. Correct? I'm telling again, structured data, just like a typical systematic structure, name, roll number, address, and all those things. So systematic structure. Unstructured, some fields are having structured, some are not having. And semi-structured. Unstructured, nothing. I have just written, I have a content present in my text file. Now I want to process that content and put it into the systematic format, and the content present in that text file wants to use to generate the analytics. Now you need to understand, guys, the data is very important. Now if you are learning a particular database, forget about it. You need to take your knowledge next to the data. Data is old. A database is an old guy getting retired soon. Okay, so we'll have to think about the next generation. So that is called as a data lake. Okay, so data lake, imagine data lake just like a water lake. So whenever we see a lake, in the lake there is a plenty of water, correct? So just like that, there is a data lake, there is a ground or the lake in which the data is residing, all the files in one place. So single data store that is scalable and cost effective to use the standard based data format. Now imagine water lake. Now that is a single source of truth where entire water is residing. Now what to do with water? It's purely based upon the consumer. Let's take, there are three friends. Okay, A, B, C. A wants to take a water from that data water lake, and he wants to mix the red color. B wants to take a water from that lake and he wants to boil it. C wants to take the water from that and he wants to drink it. It means that data lake doesn't perform any operation on it. Are you getting, guys? Just like a water lake will not perform any operation on it. It's on a consumer, like those three friends. They are the consumer of the water. So similarly, the companies or the people are the consumer of the data which is present in the data lake. So it's on me. If I get the data, I will just pick up that data from the data lake, that is a S3 in AWS. And what I need to do with data, I know, and I will do whatever the operation I want to do. Are you getting? The way the friend A got the data water from the lake, he wanted to make it colorful water, so he mixed the red color. So keep that thing in mind. And data lake basically store huge millions, trillions, terabyte, petabyte, whatever the last unit of byte of data. Database like RDBMS has a restrictions. They can't store the data more than some size. They store, but then there are performance issues. Therefore, there is a concept after database called as a data warehouse. I don't know how many of you are aware about it. So data warehouse is a bigger size. So you can see that database means a small tiffin, which allows you to store the 2 chapatis. Then you want to take five chapatis every day, so you cannot manage with that small tiffin called as a database. So you go with the bigger size of the tiffin, and you are putting the 6 7 chapatis in that, so that bigger size of tiffin is called as your data warehouse. But there is a need that every day you have to take 35 chapatis for your friends. So you will have to go with multiple small tiffin, so you will have to manage lot of database, okay, or you will have to go the data warehouse, so mid-size tiffin box. Instead of that, you will go with the one big box called as the data lake, okay, which is a single source of truth. So that's way innovation happen in the data. So from RDBMS database to data warehouse to data lake. Nowadays there is another concept came into market called as a delta lake, okay, but I don't want to confuse you by using all these things and these things so that you will get confused. Okay, once the data is available in the data, then lot of analytics needs to be performed. Now what do you mean by analytic? Anyone is aware about the term, guys, business intelligence and AI or analytics or machine learning? BI are the Oracle as a BI product, or other companies have. So the BI product were working on the data, and they were predicting what happened in the past. But due to the machine learning and the AI, by building the ML model, getting the data, applying the different types of the NLP algorithms or the linear regressions and other algorithms, you can train the model, you can build the model, you can test the model and come up with the analytic prediction which will give about the future. For example, I have students data for X college, and I capture the data and created a model in terms of passing percentage of these things. And I created a model, trained the model, tested the model, and that using that data of last 10 years, I can have a prediction for this college that for next 5 years, what will be the passing rate for this college. Okay, so I know that my model is giving me that, okay, our passing rate was 60% on an average, but in next 3 years, this model is saying that you are not going to move more than 70%. Why? Because based upon the data. So therefore, the management faculties has to take some care or bring some innovations to or do something different, so that average score of passing will move above 80. That way it helps us to generate the analytics, and the analytics on any type of data. I have just given an example which is relevant to you. It could be manufacturing data generated by various sensors. It could be student data, it could be healthcare related data, patient data, banking data, fraud detection data, credit card violation data. Any type of the data will have to store it into data lake, build your machine learning models using the machine learning algorithms and the machine learning related programming language or the AWS or Oracle cloud services, generate the meaning and this thing. So you need a different types of people. Single person cannot do all those things. So data engineer who will do the database, data lake, data warehouse management, creation. Data scientist is a guy who will take ahead the analytics, real-time analytics or the predictive analytics. Okay. Yes, FB, Twitter, images, everything is unstructured data. They are just putting into the one dump hole, as I mentioned, maybe in a S3 bucket if they are using the cloud or blob storage of Azure. And then once they dump the data into that bucket or into their data lake, then they are doing processing of that data. And once that processing has been completed, they can generate the different meaning from that data. All right, so what is that we can do with a data lake? So data lake is what here, guys, data warehousing if you want to go, so Redshift. Big data processing if you want to go, so then use Amazon EMR. If you want to do the query on the data, the way we do the query on our Oracle database called as a SQL query. So we have a SQL or a Toad, and we write the SQL queries. But how about writing the query to get the data? So let me tell you, ask you, if you have you can consider your data lake just like your file folder structure, but not of 5 files, 10 files, but some millions or trillions of files of size. But how do you query the file folder structure and get me the list of this? You can do some where search, but it is not that informative. So if you want to query, just like select star from table employee for all employees whose salary is greater than 50,000, and it will return the row. In the same way, Amazon Athena help us to do the queries on the structured, unstructured data present over here. So in short, whoever wants to go and build his or her career on the data, he or she wants to learn machine learning, AI is her or her passion, then whatever you can see on the screen is what basically, if you are going on AWS track, this kind of the services will help you. If you are going on to the Azure stack, similar services are there, and on Oracle Cloud, similar services are there. But as I mentioned, the concept wise, it remains similar. That is for compute, data, storage, networking, and integration. So choice is your based upon that. But what I have seen, people are heavily going on compute and data. All right, so last couple of slides, and then I will quickly come on summarize. How do you build momentum? I mean, in a company, this is with respect to company, or maybe your college, or maybe your organization, or maybe a bank. What's been happening with respect to data with them? Okay, so move and store your data in the cloud. They decided, okay, then build a data lake architectures. Okay, purpose build data lake architectures, because we cannot just go and store the data into cloud, because there are multiple options available to store the data in cloud in next gen. For example, as I mentioned, database, so you go with AWS RDS. If you want to go with data warehouse, you go with the AWS EMR. You want to go with data lake, then Amazon S3, or okay, then modernize your data warehouse, then build the data driven applications and generate the revenue, because Facebook is selling their data. They capture the data from us, and now they are making a money from that. Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, okay, all are capturing the data from us. Millions, trillions records they have, and they sell those records to the different companies, and they earn the money. Okay, and they turn the data into insight, innovate with AI or ML, as I mentioned. Okay, so this is what generally happen when you do a cloud native data related stuff, because we already seen a cloud native application. So this cycle is called as data flywheel. Okay, and company is going for their data flywheel, and they are gradually moving their on-premises data from MS SQL server or MySQL or any other servers to the data lake on the Oracle Cloud or the AWS Cloud or Azure, performing some modernization on that, and then building the data driven apps using microservices as well, exposing that data to the company, generating revenue, and also generating some meaning from that data, and taking here that data for their business improvement. Okay, so that's it. So I will summarize, and I can take a couple of questions if you guys are still interested. So let me summarize, guys, for you whatever we discussed. So next generation technologies and computing are today's and future need. Believe me, if you don't know anything, whatever I talk, don't feel kind of guilty, but just wake up and okay, this is what's been happening in industry. There are n number of things are there also happening in industry, and but I just brought into the 80% of what is important. Okay, so agile is a way of working, and now we are moving towards the continuous development. So agile is iterative and incremental. Now continuous deployment means any given moment of time we should be able to deploy our defect or a feature onto the production. DevOps, we talk, it's automated delivery pipeline. Now the concept is coming up, automate the automation. Interesting. How do we automate the way we are doing the automation? Okay, called as a self-healing, we already talked. Microservices is the architecture style. Build fault tolerant and scalable applications. Remember, instead of a big fatty application of 40 million lines of code, now the entire application I can build as a small services, maybe of 1,000 lines of code, but one SRS, single responsibility principle, one microservice should perform a one function very well. Okay, so microservices we can bundle into the Docker images, package it as a Docker images and deploy. One interesting point, I know if you are familiar with Java, for a Java it is always called as write once and run anywhere. Okay, I don't know anyone is aware, just say yes. Write once, run anywhere means once you have written the Java program, so then you can run it anywhere. If you have a JVM, Java virtual machine, on a Linux or a Unix or any other operating system. Yeah, fantastic guys, thanks for the response. Okay, so the Java is write once, run anywhere. Similarly, Docker, this is my term I coined, PODA, PODA. What does it mean by PODA? Package once. Once you package your microservice or your application as a Docker image, package once, deploy anywhere. Then you can deploy anywhere, whether it is on a Kubernetes on premises, you can deploy it onto AWS, you can deploy it onto the Oracle cloud, you can deploy it onto the Google cloud, you can deploy it into Azure, you can go and OpenShift, you can go and do into cloud, Foundry, Pivotal, anywhere. That's the PODA. Package once, deploy anywhere. That's the beauty of Docker container. It's extremely lightweight. It's very easy to build. Once you build it and just deploy it in one click. Okay, cloud, we know it's elastic and flexible services for compute, data, storage, networks as a main four parts. So from your career perspective, focus on compute and data. If you are a person having an interest in networking and the hardware part, I would suggest you go for storage, networking. Okay, data is oil, we already talked about. Database, we have seen from old generation, MS Access to the latest one, data lake, S3 bucket. Okay, and database, there are two categories, SQL database and nowadays no SQL database. It means that it's a pretty straightforward database, MongoDB, Cassandra. There are so many other databases which comes under the NoSQL. Data warehouse, data lake, delta lake, data pipeline is also there, and many more is going to come, guys. Open source frameworks are becoming more acceptable for next generation app and cloud. So 30 seconds or open source framework. Earlier, people used to think open source frameworks are not good. Open source frameworks are not good to use into the production like environment. But industry has been changed now. Open source become a main source. Again, I will repeat, open source become a main source in the IT industry. So you will have to use a lot of open source frameworks. When I'm saying open source frameworks in the area of what? Now Kubernetes is open source, Docker is open source, correct? Jenkins is open source. So different frameworks for the different purpose are there, and we have to use those different frameworks for the different purposes. Okay, so I will just see there are a lot of chats coming up. Let me see, is there any question? Okay, can you please elaborate more on data ops? How does it differ from DevOps, or what is the basic responsibility? All right, so guys, data DevOps, development and operation teams work together. In DevOps environment, what it has been seen, basically the software people build is like e-commerce software or general purpose softwares, correct? So it could be a retail banking site, it could be HDFC website, it could be ICICI bank website. If I give the example of the banking domain, it could be Fortis hospital website, it could be your college website, university. So this is what generally happens with respect to DevOps. But when it comes to data ops, finally it is application. So data ops is again the same process, but the application is heavily focusing on data, not on the other aspect. Okay, for example, generating the machine learning model, training the data, Then when I'm generating the machine learning model, I have to write the source code. How do I write? I can write a source code in R language, or I can go and write the source code into my Python language. Okay. So, and if I want to do some kind of a streaming, so some additional aspect is there which is related to data, like a batch processing, streaming of the data, performing the data validation. Okay, so all those additional steps will come into the data ops, which is not as such required into DevOps. I think that is what it is. At high level, I would say that. Gayatri, yes, NoSQL, it is more flexible. The reason behind is that no price for most of the NoSQL databases are open source, and they are very light in nature, and we can easily use. Sir, in microservices, as they are small packs, won't they be easy to exploit if any bug is found? Yes, but as I mentioned, microservice, if there is any bug is there, rest of the other microservices up and running, and we can just download, stop that microservice, fix that microservice bug, and redeploy it. As every microservice is independent, it is not heavily connected, it is connecting runtime. So it is always better that if one microservice is failed, still I am safe, because my rest of the application is not getting down, and still the functionality is available to user. Whereas in a non-microservice world, for example, Netflix, Flipkart, and all those things you might have seen, sometimes if there is a heavy user accessing the site, it gets crashed, whether it's a Indian Railway a ticket portal or all, because it's a one big monolithic. If everything goes wrong, the entire application goes wrong. Whereas in a microservice, which is a small application, one of the application goes wrong, rest of the applications are up, therefore there is no disaster because of any bug. Oh, wonderful, Nikunj. I have plenty of courses, books, and reference to tell you, but maybe you guys can write me later. It's so there are a lot of courses on LinkedIn, there are a lot of courses on O'Reilly, there are a lot of courses available. Even if I also conduct certain courses, but it depends. I generally conduct for the passionate folks only, but I will share the links and all those things to the you guys, maybe through the organizer of this session. There are wonderful sites as a preparation site. For example, 28 minutes, Java in use, to just quote, and Java Tech. So these are the sites you can start with. Sir, some examples where microservices are being used. Yeah, where there are so many these things. The very first example is Netflix. The Netflix is streaming. They need a high performing streaming, real time streaming, so they are using heavily microservices. In fact, they only, I would say that officially the first across the world who went for a microservices successfully. They build certain software, they open source later, they use Kafka, they are using Kafka heavily. After Netflix, LinkedIn, Google, Facebook, Twitter are the known companies. Then in banking industry, a lot of banks are going for the microservices, a lot of healthcare are going for the microservices, even if the government IT systems are going for the microservices. So the good part is that it has still a huge potential, and for at least for 10 to 15 years, we do not know, something new will come. But microservices from architecture perspective, remember guys, there are thousands of existing applications are there, monolithic application. Breaking all those millions of application into microservices is a huge scope of work. It is going to remain for a couple of decades. All right, thanks for your feedback, guys. Okay, sir, please can you name industry accepted self-healing frameworks? Suddenly I know that it is not coming in my mind, because there are plenty of frameworks. But there are two frameworks for self-healing. One is open source, and another one is this things. I'm so sorry, I couldn't recollect that framework, because I'm connecting working on several frameworks. But once I get it, I will let you know what are the mechanism. Or another way, whoever asked that question is, you just Google out self-healing open source framework, you will get the first one which I'm talking about. How secure is DevOps? DevOps is very secured because, as I mentioned, the security is the priority, and all the um, security regulatory compliance all industry has to follow. But the problem is that people, they don't follow it, and then therefore there is a attack. Hence, I would suggest that there is a concept called as DevSecOps, that is DevOps security ops as well, who mainly focus heavily onto the security aspect of the particular company. All right, guys. So be better person, build better technology health. You know, we build our body, muscle, emotional health. I would strongly recommend, don't hesitate to build a technology health. Go for, make the mistakes. More you make the mistakes, you will learn a lot in technology area and your personal life as well. Okay, and generate a better performance in your personal and professional career. That's it from my side. Let me know. I'm fine to take any other questions. Otherwise, we are good to close. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your wonderful chat responses.
Yes, Aniket sir, I think you have answered all the questions that were posted by our participants in the Zoom chat. So thank you so much, sir, for delivering this session and giving away your precious time. And definitely, this session has reformed the minds of all our participants during this lockdown period. And we have got to learn a lot of things. So thank you, sir, for delivering this session. And I'm certain that our participants have been benefited by it. So
It's my pleasure.
As we come to the end of the 5-day series, I now request our respected head of the department, Dr. Rahul Khokle, sir, to deliver a short message to all the participants. Rahul, sir, over to you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Aniket sir, for such a wonderful session. Thank you so much. So, good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, I welcome you to this virtual validating function. Dear friends, from last 64 days during lockdown, we are witnessing a different kind of experience. We all are like stranded at home, and it may lead to some anxiety and mental stress. So considering all these aspects, we have decided to conduct a webinar series from 24th May to 28th May. We have invited eminent personalities from industry and academia to deliver webinars on diversified topics. I am happy to share with you that we have received overwhelming response for this webinar series. Thank you all participants and my team also. Finally, we come to an end of this webinar series. I extend my sincere gratitude and thanks to our management and principals for giving us permission for this event. Thank you once again, Aniket sir, and for your valuable time, and thanks to all other speakers also. Once again, thank you all the participants to showing faith on us and joining for this webinar series. So thank you, dear participants. I hope that you have gained something from this webinar series. Thank you all my dear faculties and my cherished students for cooperating me to conduct this webinar series. So with this, I conclude my session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rahul sir, for that lovely message. Thank you, Rahul sir, for that lovely message. We would like to hear from our audience, from our participants who have been quite dedicated, sincere, and participating in our 5-day webinar series. So we would love to hear from you. So
Okay.
now we would be taking
Yes.
some feedbacks from the participants. So I would like to
Sure.
first take the name of Dr. Tanuja Sarode. Dr. Tanuja Sarode.
Hello, yes.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Requesting you to introduce first and then give the feedback.
Yeah, I'm from Tadawal Shahid Engineering College. I'm the head of the computer department there. I attended your sessions, all the sessions. They were very interesting. First of all, I would like to congratulate the St. John Engineering College and our organizer for the great success for this STTP. There were many participants, around more than I think 600 participants had participated. All the topics were very interesting. All new topics have been covered. There was a topic like IoT for music therapy. Then there was a talk on React. He has shown right from scratch how to implement application in React. Very informative. Then there was a useful session that was being covered on research paper writing, which is very useful nowadays. Then there was a code quality impact session. Again, it was a very informative session. Then program analysis and testing. Again, it was very informative and interesting. There were various types of testing that has been covered in this session. Then next generation computing. Again, it was very uh, informative session. Then there were so many new technologies that we have to keep on updating ourselves. I've heard about this data lake for the first time. Very informative. It was a very great talk. I thank all the speakers. They had given very interesting, useful information. They have spent their valuable time as well. Learned a lot of new things apart from the regular syllabus. Great work. This has been done by the organizer. I thank the entire organization team. And I lastly thank to giving me the opportunity to attend this course. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanuja ma'am, for your valuable feedback and inputs. Highly appreciate it. Principal Sir Dr. G.B. Mulgund would like to share his message. So over to you, Principal Sir.
In fact, indeed, it was a nice session. I was there throughout for Ankit Mhala session, and at the end, I just sent a chat stating that I am looking forward the personal association of Ankit Mhala with our institute, especially for the benefit of our friends fraternity, as well as for the faculty development. I thought it is from micro computing to quantum computing. Everything revolves around the data. So data, data, data. So data mining to data exploring, and we can do so many things. So what all we can do will be only told by the resource person like Ankit Mahala. It was very interesting and curious session. Though I am from civil background, I was glued to the, though there were some inconvenience of power and network issues, but I could enjoy the session, and I'm looking forward his further associations. Once again, congratulations to Department of Computer Technology as well as all the participants for actively participating and showing the keen interest. My special congratulations to all the students volunteer who have done excellent work during all these 5 days. Right?
Yes.
Thank you, and let us see soon.
Yeah.
Hope
Thank you.
the COVID will encounter the COVID and will going to come back fighting with the fighting spirits. Thank you, Ankit. Well done.
Thank you so much, Principal Sir, for your message. Moving on with the feedback, I now request Professor Vinay Nalabade to please give the feedback.
Yes. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Hello, this is Professor Vinay Nalavade from SB Patel College of Engineering, Indapur. It's from Pune University, and it just, I think it's nearly about 500 kilometers from your college. I mean, there is nowhere, not any kind of relation between you and me and your college. Just this COVID and the applications like Zoom and YouTube makes the relation and you and me and your college. The best thing this COVID-19 makes that it just gives us the break. the break from our lab journals, lab assignments, and the post journal and the our lesson plans and the other things. Because most of the time we also require the development. Most of the time we require the development. Means I finished my MTech and finished my CLAC in 2009, and haven't updated after that because we have our syllabuses and the particular assignment preparation and the syllabus changing over the again and again after 3 and 4 years. So we should require some time to develop us. And the most important is we have to work like a corporate thing. We have to be updated like them because if we are not giving them updated knowledge, then how they will be qualified and how they will be compete with the other students in the market. And this webinar series, I simply gives you it's 100 out of 100 mark for this webinar series because it covers most of the advanced technologies, advanced topics, even with how to write a research paper also. So you just balance as you and your colleague just balance all the things with you just give you the knowledge of all the advanced technologies and whatever we require as a teacher otherwise as a professor. So I just congratulate you and your team, all the colleagues of your college. Simply, I just forgot the 2 day session. Oh my God, it was really a nice session. It's just a brainstorming session that gives you the idea that where we are. We are even I just give you the example that our syllabus still have the old Java and the .NET technology. We don't have any framework in our syllabus. So how our students will compete in the market in next 3 to 4 hours, next 3 to 4 years? Sorry. So such kind of a webinar simply gives you the some knowledge, and whatever means I simply connected with this webinar on the last day because I just got a message on social network WhatsApp, and I just connected with this college and the webinar series. Uh, so I just want to make a thank you message, thank you to you all. Sorry, I'm not in so much formal way. This is very much informal way. So sorry for that, but I'm really thank you to you and your team. I really thank you to your college for organizing such a successful webinar. One most important thing I just want to share with all the participants and the college is thank you to the team of this webinar, because most of the times the flex and the graphics only contains the name of the convener and the higher authority, but actually you working guys are most important. Because of you, the this such kind of event won't be a successful. So just congratulations to you and the Tina and the other your colleagues for organizing such a wonderful event, and thanks to such kind of online platform that makes the communication between the colleges which are 400 to 500 kilometers away from each other. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vinay sir, for that lovely feedback. Highly appreciate it. Moving ahead, I would like to announce Miss Vaishali Rane to give the feedback. Vaishali Rane, ma'am.
Yes, I'm there. Yes.
Yeah, ma'am. Good evening.
Audible?
Yeah. You're audible, ma'am.
Good afternoon, first of all, and very much congratulations to the St. John's College of Engineering and Management, especially to the Computer Engineering Department for organizing this 5 days workshop. The contents I felt were really awesome. I mean, you can't even think about the day one contents. You can say as IoT for music therapy, and which actually catch my attention as, oh my God, even this happens. And the session taken by Yogesh Pingre sir was really wow. And then the React session. Coming to the next day, second day, the research paper writing, all the very minute things whichever are to be must covered into the research paper writing were all covered very nicely and relentlessly. I mean, the speakers here still today are not tired of talking at all. They are just giving away their knowledge without waiting, and that's too with all the enthusiasm. I'm very happy to attend all this. Then the quality, code quality, program analysis and testing, and the today's session, I must say, it was awesome. The next generation computing by Aniket Mhala sir. Some term that I came to know today itself, data lake. Wow, and I'm so happy. Yes, I'll be sharing this with my students and my colleagues also who haven't attended this kind of a session. So I won't take much of the time of yours. I thank you each and every one of this organizing committee as well as computer engineering department, Smith, Hardik, and everyone who organized such a beautiful seminar, beautiful workshop for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Vaishali ma'am, for that valuable feedback. Moving next, I would like to call Miss Gayatri Nayak.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. First of all, good evening to one and all. I'm very thankful to attending these sessions. I'm Gayatri Naik from Shivaji Rave Zonal College of Engineering, Asangao. And this webinar series is like a one bouquet of various multiple flowers. And each and every topic is very different. IoT music therapy, web development, and the code quality, research paper writing, AI, ML, and the next generation computing. Various topics are very, very attractive, sir. So, and the speakers are very, resource persons are very, very good. So that we never stuck at any time. And the most important is the team members. All the coordinators are very, very good, and they are immediately move from one point to another point. At the first day, I have so many problems to connecting, and the ma'am will solve it very well. So I thanks to all of them, the staff coordinators, Tina ma'am, Vivan sir, and Angeline sir, and the student coordinators, Hardik and Jayesh, and the head of the department, Dr. Rahul Kokle sir, and the principal of the SJCEM, Dr. GV Mulgan sir. So this is a very fantastic and 100% fruitful webinar for all of us. It is very useful for career of all in a future also, and this very good for this pandemic situation. So thank you so much, all the coordinators.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable feedback. I now request Mr. Ravi Mante, sir, to share his experience about this webinar series. Ravi Mante, sir. Hello, Ravi, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this session was very useful. Now I am thankful to Dr. Rahul Kokle sir for giving me this opportunity. I am Professor Ravi Mante from Government College of Engineering, Amravati. Okay, and the resource persons you have choose are very renowned, and they have explored knowledge on various fields, different fields, such as IoT, then software testing. Okay, then this today's resource person. So the topics are different from different fields, and these are very useful. Now I thankful to your principal, management, and team of SJCEM. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ravi, sir, for your feedback. I now request Ms. Shraddha More to give the feedback and her inputs about the 5-day webinar series.
Hello.
Yes, Shraddha ma'am.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. I am Shraddha More, Assistant Professor from St. John College of Engineering and Management, Palghar. First of all, I would like to congratulate the entire organizing team of Computer Department of HJCM for organizing such an wonderful and informative webinar series in this lockdown period. All the 5 days sessions were nicely organized and well planned. Thanks to all the eminent speakers for providing such an informative knowledge on various new topics. Lastly, we are hoping for such more events from your team in future too. Once again, congratulations to the entire team for such a grand success of webinar series. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for your feedback. Much appreciated. Moving ahead, I would request Miss Aditi Nagre to give her feedback.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everybody. A very good afternoon to one and all. I'm Aditi Nagre, a student from Vasantdada Patil College of Engineering from Sion, Mumbai. All I would like to say is that every webinar held from 24th May to 28th May was so informative and useful. The whole organizing team, Miss Tina ma'am, Mr. Vivian sir, and Angelina ma'am, Hardik sir, were all so cooperative. I have attended many webinars in this pandemic, but the best webinars were of SG College and would like to be a part of such webinars more often. Yeah, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for your feedback. Much appreciated. Moving ahead, I now request Miss Gautami Churi to share her views about this webinar series.
My name is Churi. I am from St. John College of Engineering and Management. As I have attended all the sessions of the 5 days webinar series, I got to learn new things. All the sessions were informative and helpful. Got a new idea for project from the IoT on music therapy session. Then we learned about research paper writing and got to know about coding quality and open source platform for coding practices. So I would say that my overall experience was good. Thank you team for organizing this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautami, for your feedback. So moving ahead, I, on behalf of the staff and students of St. John College of Engineering and Management and the entire fraternity present here today, and on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the speakers for taking time from their respective schedules to grace this occasion. We all are inspired as well as enlightened by your great sessions. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I would like to take this opportunity to place on records our hearty thanks to Mr. Aldrich D'Souza, sir, Member, Aldel Education Trust, Principal Dr. G.V. Mulgund, sir, and Dr. Rahul Kokle, Head of Department, for their continuous support and guidance they extended for the smooth conduction of the 5-day webinar series. I'll just put the annotation of. My sincere and deepest thanks to the faculty coordinators, my sincere and deepest thanks to the faculty coordinators, Mrs. Angeline Florence and Ms. Tina Dabreo, for helping me in each and every way possible to make this webinar series a success. I also thank the efforts and timely assistance offered by my colleagues of Computer Engineering Department, Ms. Manali, Ms. Vidya, Ms. Nehal, Ms. Aditi, Mr. Sunny, Ms. Rashmi, Mr. Ajay, Ms. Shraddha, Ms. Nancy, Mr. Anas, and Dr. Kiran. Without their support, it would not be possible to conduct this webinar series. I am indeed thankful for the student coordinators, Hardik Patel for the technical support, Smith Jetwa for the technical support, Mayur Chaudhary for the design, Jayesh Patil for YouTube and social media support, Dheeraj, Rohan and Deepak for the certification teams. Thank you students for your continuous support and for your help. Last but not the least, I thank all my dear participants for being such a wonderful audience and participating in this webinar series. Without your overwhelming response, the event would be impossible. So a few instructions to the participants. I'll be sharing the link for the feedback in the chat box. The link for the feedback will be active till 7:30 p.m. I repeat, the link for the feedback will be available till 7:30 p.m. E-certificates for each session will be emailed to those participants who have regularly filled all the feedback forms within 5 to 6 days on their registered email ID. I repeat, e-certificates will be provided to all the participants who have regularly filled the feedback form within 5 to 6 days on their registered email ID. You will be getting a separate e-certificate for each session that has been attended. PPTs and other materials shall also be shared after appropriate consent from the speakers. Also, do not forget to like, comment, share and subscribe our YouTube channel for more updates about the future events. Thank you all and have a great day. There is an important announcement for all the participants. So goodbye doesn't mean the end. It does not say forever. It's just a means that we will soon meet again. So by saying this quote, I would like to say that the Department of Computer Engineering, St. John College of Engineering and Management will be organizing one-day webinar on June 3rd, which will be on the topic Gateway to Cybersecurity. I repeat, one-day webinar on the topic Gateway to Cybersecurity, and the speaker will be Miss Savita Dadwal, who is a certified ethical hacker, and she is a founding member of Fortify Solutions. So just to give you a gist, the topic that will be covered is Introduction to Cybersecurity, Need of Cybersecurity, Practical Implementation using Kali, Careers and Future Scope in Cybersecurity. So participants, we have another webinar for y'all on June 3rd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on cybersecurity. And the registration details would be sent to you very soon on Telegram. So please do not leave our Telegram group. Thank you all participants. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you. Participants can start leaving the session.